am a huge fan of the turn-based video game, particularly Warhammer 40k. Big fan of the miniatures in my younger years, and seeing them animated, all the effects, having all that maths done for you, it's awesome for me. I do have some favourites. Mechanicus is very close to my heart. Gladius, even that Space Hulk turn-based, which is pretty awesome to be fair. And that's one of my more favourite 40k cannons, Gene Stealers versus the almighty Terminator.
Nothing I can't do. You didn't stand a chance!
We're going to have a look at 2023's Rogue Trader from Owlcat. If that rings a bell, they do the Pathfinder game. Rogue Trader is available on console and the PlayStation 5. This might even have some PlayStation Pro boosts, but you're looking at the PC version because this is available over on Game Pass, which is great news. This does give me keyboard and mouse, but don't get me wrong, I don't mind a turn-based game over on the pad if it's optimized correctly. I like to twiddle around the view, you know what I mean? And if I've got that on a stick, that feels far more natural. Getting a good look at the battlefield 360 degrees is one of the pleasures of a turn-based video game. And more importantly, not being rushed, doing all of this at your own time, soaking it all up and making those tactical decisions at low speed. So what is a Rogue Trader? What is the 40k angle with this game? Well, here's the thing. It's pretty much an open brief. You are sort of the Imperium's best boy, and you get a free ship and can go wherever and do whatever you want on your merry adventures, that sort of stuff. I think that you are what the name suggests, somebody who brings back new discoveries and tech to the Imperium, but you are not tethered by any rules. You certainly don't have any inquisitorial rights, but it's an interesting setup, and it gives you access to quite a broad scope of interactions within the game's canon. I've got to work on shorter and less complicated sentences. I'm also coining inquisitorial rights. I want you all to go into work tomorrow and kick that HR door down and say, "I demand inquisitorial rights." They love that. They love that sort of stuff.
Take all of you with me.
Notice, guardsmen, that I've got the camera quite close here. I like the idea of the intimacy when it comes to the combat and looking at the characters in detail. I was just thinking about the engine and recent turn-based military games, and this is one of the newest, I feel. There was that strange Lamplighters game, but some of the detail on the smoke bullets and ballistics, particularly the impact and friendly fire, which we will get to.
Tried and tested tactics are the best ones. I will do my duty. At your beck and call.
Rousing me was your biggest mistake.
But not by much.
It is one of the more interesting angles to the game is that firing at an individual who may have friendly players around them doesn't guarantee said player's safety. A lot of your starter characters will have moves that technically have a cone of area effect out in front of them, particularly the machine gun fire move, and you've got a psycho that's got an electricity attack which turns every man, woman and child into a conductor, and it will jump right through your whole team if you point it in the wrong direction. Bullets can also pass right through people. This added section isn't present in a lot of other 40k turn-based games that I've gone near. Stuff like Chaos Gate just didn't take this into account as seriously as Rogue Trader does. So it really makes you think about positioning, and being too close to each other or being in front of each other is critical and can stop you causing massive damage to the enemy. So thinking about placement has got this added bit of importance.
Let's get to it. Here we go.
A lot of missions also have AI help, which are also included in the turn system, so you have to watch them bugger up on a massive scale or shoot your favourite player in the back of the head by accident. It is a bit of a nail-biter. There's also like no major throwables early. It's not like, again, Chaos Gate where you just huss a grenade in and end the situation. With this, you are trying to pluck out an individual without injuring anyone else in the vicinity.
But of course, be gone!
You can also get this system going massively in your favour. If you find a bottleneck section, the enemy close quarters grunts will come running in, and then the long range dudes will try and shoot past said grunts and just eliminate everything for you. There's some unintentional or intentional comedy here, and it's extremely satisfying. It's also bolstered by some not too bad voice acting as well. That goes for the enemy characters and the people you've got on board. Now that surprised me a little bit. The selection that you're given is pretty locked for quite a few hours of the game. I was under the impression that you would discover new people and be constantly switching that roster out, but no, you commit and upgrade these 4 individuals at the front end.
Hold on.
I'll live another day.
Let's get to it. Want some more?
One thing I was massively looking forward to, however, was putting these little cool things on my little dudes and getting them nearer the Astarte's Promised Land, which is on the front cover. I noticed that Space Wolf set. It is quite Imperium based at the start with the loot and the guns, las cannons, rusty old pistols, that sort of thing, but it does get better, and the demolition gets better, more importantly. There is loads to find out with this loot switch out section of the game. It's massive, and every fight leaves stuff that you need, things you can switch out, upgrade. Reading up on the feedback of this game, some people have said that this section is a little bit daunting, but I feel it just adds value to the character, a bit more ownership, particularly on a cosmetic front, because some of the stuff you find is genuinely cool. But more importantly, it has battle impact, huge cool stats, and different effects on screen. I do love having that dual setup with the 2 main character dudes and being able to just make them full close quarters or give them dual wield pistols. The choice is yours. Okay, so far so good, and I think this gripe is going to be not applicable to everybody. And as you know, I like to clatter through things because normally I'm under some sort of deadline that I've made up in my own head. So reading things, right, and making decisions that are a consequence of the aforementioned reading, it's almost like a test at the end. I've lost whole missions and side quests because I'm clicking the top one all the time because I want to get back into the combat. This is known as lore, Coop, and this is known as story building, mate, and it's probably something that is a big attraction to loads of people with the game, and that is cool because there's loads of it, and the writing and what I've read about where that story goes is pretty amazing. It's just quite jarring for me because I'm such a big fan of clicking around and watching stuff explode. And on the subject of clicking around, I get really lost all the time because after a mission you can then just have a wander and look at the map overhead and find out if there's any sort of loot knocking around. The freedom of that aspect is great, but it again clashes with me because sometimes I need direction. However, the stories and missions are pretty linear. I just got lost far more than I thought I would, particularly in that prologue, and that also comes with a sort of semi-boss fight that again I had quite a lot of grief with. They're quite bullet spongy, the health gets regened and you think you're doing something wrong, but no, you just have to push on forward. You're also introduced to the true setup of the game with travelling around in your ship to destinations that you decide the order of. So there are planets, again Chaos Gate does have this, where you travel between them. You can have issues with the staff, maybe something goes wrong or you're attacked. There's quite a lot attached to the time passing as you're traveling to your destination. The momentum system is worth a mention. Now, I first experienced this in Battle Sector, a great game, and is in that list I mentioned at the start. Essentially, if you kill a bunch of things or people, you then get this power up to carry over to the next turn or even use in the existing turn. It'll always be something cool, but it only comes if you start doing things that involve progression on the battlefield. And it's great because it gives you access to moves that you don't normally see, and that also bleeds into the skills that you've set up for all of your characters. So it's fun when things start dying in succession.
As the Emperor commands, I execute it. That is not the Emperor's will.
Upon gazing on that planetary map, it does dawn on you how colossal this game is. 160 hours I've read of the campaign content, which is pretty unbelievable. I will be delving further, but I actually really want to have a look at this game over on PlayStation 5 on console and see how that pad integration has been put in, and also see how it runs as well. This is a very impressive Warhammer 40k turn-based video game. It just has way too much dialogue in it for me, but that might be an attraction for some of you. I would really like to see a turn-based Inquisitor Martyr style game with like full-blown massive Chaos Marines and Astartes and Tyranids and everything coming at you. And you do get a little bit of that in some of those aforementioned titles, but a lot of it's more outside without the intimacy of cover and twisty corridors, which is what this game excels at quite well.
Doubt is for the weak.
Inquisitor Martyr, I can't believe you just brought that up. Yeah, I think about that game. It's still got a player base, you know, and it had a little bit of local co-op injected into it, but that was like 40k Diablo. That wasn't a bad swing at the genre. Also got thinking about Wastelanders as well. Those games are all on Game Pass. One of them got remastered, right? They're very good apocalyptic turn-based Fallout style video games. Just back to Rogue Trader briefly on that map and discovery point. You can walk accidentally into a combat zone in some of those later levels and your team not be anywhere near you, and they've got to be moved up to you within the battle turn system. Are you with me? That one was a bit harsh, I felt, and probably my own fault. I'm thinking about doing a video series called Backlog Island. I've got this tank turn-based Japanese RPG game, Valkyria Chronicles. I just had to get up and go and look at it then. I had its sequel, played its sequel, and ended up getting the physical years ago. That is an interesting game and series. I would love your feedback if you've played any of them.
Let's get to it.
I was of course Couch Coop, stand by for the Wukong revisit and show my AC6 video some love if possible. I will show you the intro to that now and see you down there.
久々の共同だ。助け合いの精神で行くとしよう。ウォッチポイントからの報告をしたな。